Nancy Cordes, of course, tracking the Democratic race here. And Nancy, here we are on a Super Tuesday that had been circled on the calendar for any number of reasons by both the Sanders and Clinton campaigns. And going into it today, we have a presumptive Democratic nominee. So in real terms, what do the 6 contests today matter?
You know, Clinton probably wouldn't have minded if we had all stuck to that schedule and not found out that she had gone over the top, so to speak, until after those primaries tonight. You know, she's been dogged by this argument from Sanders himself and from Sanders supporters all along that the super delegate process was inherently unfair, that it was rigged in her favor, and then she gets put over the top, not because there were primaries that were held yesterday, but because couple dozen superdelegates basically said, yeah, I am going to support her in July. So it doesn't help. At the same time, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world either. She is the presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party, and the Clinton campaign hopes that most of their supporters who would have gotten out to vote today in New Jersey and in California go ahead and vote anyway, because she is really hoping to rob Sanders of the argument that he needs to stay in this race because he's got a mandate from his supporters. If she can still pull off a victory, especially in California, where it's very, very close in the polls, you know, she will have helped herself and hurt his argument there.
And it's interesting, you know, he took a question yesterday if it was sexist. If his staying in the race was sexist, it was in an inversion of some powerful symbolism today that we have now the first woman atop a major party ticket. What is it in the surreality of the 2016 election cycle? What does that mean?
You know, Clinton hasn't really drawn a lot of attention to that milestone in this race. She probably talked about it more back in 2008 than she does now. She knows that other people will do it, even if she doesn't. But she did talk about it a little bit yesterday. She was asked what it means that she'll be the first female presumptive nominee from a major party. And she said, you know, she has not just women who come up to her all the time, but men who come up with their daughters and say, I wanted to bring my daughter here because I wanted her to know that that it's possible, that she can be anything that she wants to be. And she said that it is meaningful to her that she has finally made that crack in the glass ceiling that she couldn't make 8 years ago. And I think tonight when she speaks in Brooklyn formally about clinching the nomination, that you will hear a lot more from her about the symbolism of being the first female to clinch the nomination.
So if we assume then that is what her night will be, meanwhile, Bernie Sanders heads back to Vermont.
Right.
I know you said earlier this morning that even the Bernie Sanders we saw yesterday could be wholly different from the one we might hear speak in Vermont 24 hours from now.
I think a lot of it depends, A, on what happens today, if he is able to pull out a victory in California, if so, by how much. B, how many Democratic leaders begin to endorse Hillary Clinton and urge him to get out of the race, or at least change the way that he is running this race. Just this morning, Nancy Pelosi, the House Democratic leader, announced that she's endorsing Hillary Clinton. She has stayed studiously neutral in this race up until now, saying over and over again the Democratic race has 2 great candidates. They're both helping to energize the party. But this morning she came out on the morning of her state's primary and said she is backing Hillary Clinton. This is how important it is to Democratic leaders that the party begin to coalesce around Clinton, especially at a time where they see weakness in the Trump campaign.
Very quickly, President Obama figures all signs are there. You reported it. He spoke with Bernie Sanders again prior to or over the weekend.
Right.
Very quickly, his entry into this race does what?
So a lot of Democrats will be taking their cues from him. If the president endorses Clinton, you're going to see a lot of other Democrats who have been giving Bernie Sanders, for example, a wide berth, saying he can stay in as long as he wants. They don't want to offend his supporters. They're going to start to put more pressure on Sanders as well if Bernie Sanders doesn't make a call on his own. You'll also see a flood of donations come in, and we'll start to hear how President Obama is going to frame his argument against Donald Trump.
It's going to be very fascinating. Nancy Cordes with the Democrats. We appreciate it.
You got it.